course, just as the stinking thing, goes up live, I realize my green screen is not covered as much as it is, and I get an itch right here that is not going away, regardless how much I scratch it. But, that is the thing that happens live sometime. Welcome, everyone. This is iCritic Live, the podcast where we talk about entertainment, pop culture, and life in between. I'm your host, Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and we've got a little bit of a dicey topic to discuss today. One that has definitely caught the internet by storm, if only because it involves a cartoon character in a comic strip that, to be honest, I don't know if a lot of people still read it anymore. I'm not even sure if a lot of people like it that much anymore. But it was there. It's been around for a long time. And now, after 3 decades, thanks to a video on YouTube, poof, it's gone. Completely wiped off the face of the newspaper and most likely online as well. So, what am I talking about? Well, I am talking about Dilbert by Scott Adams. And Dilbert, in case you don't really know what it is, or you're aware of what it is, but you've never really read it, Dilbert is a comic strip which is basically about the everyday working man, specifically those who work in corporate America in office jobs, preferably cubicles. Basically, the more demeaning the job, the more Dilbert is likely to speak to you. And Dilbert has survived in newspapers for so many years, partially because of unique character designs, but also because of just that sense that it was a comic strip that got the everyday working man and woman, where Dilbert had to deal with bad customers, marketing departments that would ruin projects, a pointy-eared boss who basically is good at barking orders, but is otherwise incompetent in every other aspect. And the series was really, really funny. And I'm even going to start by saying I unironically felt Dilbert was one of my favorite comic strips growing up. I loved Dilbert. I loved reading him just as much as I loved reading Peanuts and Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes and The Far Side. And even though a lot of those comics have either ended or aren't as funny as they used to be, Dilbert still got some chuckles from me. Even as recently as several days ago, I read a comic strip. I know it was probably not a popular one because it joked about the whole pronoun situation, but I had to admit, as a joke, it was funny. It was really, really funny. Maybe not really, really funny. I didn't like fall out of my chair laughing, but I read it and was like, okay, that's pretty funny. It's a joke. It works. So I like Dilbert, and I have several of the books. I have the TV series on DVD. So I'm going into this with the knowledge and basically being honest about this, but I do like Dilbert. So when I read that Dilbert got canceled, and it's literally just done. At first it started out, and my chinchilla is about to start running on her wheel, so sorry about that. It started out as just a few newspapers pulling the comic strip, and then more and more papers, and then the syndicate that distributes Dilbert. Guess what? That they dropped that too. And chances are Dilbert.com, which also houses the comic strip, will probably also go away because that is a product of the cartoon syndicate, or the newspaper syndicate, I should say, that Scott Adams was a part of. And Adams is basically saying on Twitter that, yep, Dilbert's just pretty much been canceled all throughout everything. It's like he's just gone. And basically the only place you will be able to read Dilbert is on the personal website. Now, here's the thing. If Dilbert has even 1,000 people a month who are willing to pay a few dollars to read it, that's going to be a few $1,000s a month. It's, and I think Dilbert will have considerably more than 1,000 people a month willing to pay to read this comic strip. So in some ways, Scott Adams might even wind up better than before, or at least more free. Like, I'm sure there were jokes he wanted to tell about woke culture. You can tell he has an itching to tell those jokes. And there was probably a fair amount of those jokes that got turned down by the syndicates. Now he will be able to make whatever jokes he wants because he will be going directly to the consumer. He did have a book deal that got canceled. So, he's literally lost millions of dollars in a day. And, some people might even ask, like, is this just cancel culture run amok? Or did he actually deserve to get canceled? And even in the comments on this live stream, I'm seeing mixed things. We have Harmon, I think that's how you pronounce your name, says Scott Adams' comments were socially irresponsible. Mana said, no, he did not deserve to get canceled. And RLI, welcome back, says it got canceled because the creators had some very inflammatory and some say racist remarks, and he's standing by it. Newspapers and publications could no longer risk carrying his comic strip. So those are 3 such examples of what people, have reacted to. But what was actually said? Well, obviously, the best thing to do is to go to the source material. And by the way, I do want to add, it's a shame that I can't really move the image because it's like I love the background of this Dilbert animated series, but it didn't quite work out the way, although maybe it kind of does because you can see anyway. So Cartoon Brew probably gave the most comprehensive discussion on maybe not even discussion, but catalog of what was said. And the headline is Dilbert creator Scott Adams dropped by syndicate after posting racist YouTube rant. That is the headline. So what did he say? Adams' video was posted on February 22nd under the title Episode 2027, Scott Adams, AI Goes Woke. I accidentally joined a hate group. Trump policing schools. Just everyday discussions that you have over coffee, I suppose. In the parts of Adams' show which have now gone viral, he referenced a recent Rasmussen Reports poll that asked if respondents agreed with the statement, "It's okay to be white." According to the results, 26% of Black respondents said they had disagreed, and 21% said they weren't sure if they agreed. Taking that data entirely out of context, Adams claimed that Black Americans who don't agree with the statement are part of a hate group, and that, well, here's the quote. Based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from Black people. Get the F away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. There's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. Oh boy. So here's the thing. Let's talk a little bit. Let's do this face to face a little seriously right now. To give Adams his day in court, and I am going to turn this watch off because the chimes, I don't know if you can hear it, but the chimes are bugging me. I am not entirely upset that he is upset by this poll. I mean, here's the thing. The skin that you are born into is not a choice. There is a reason that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that he wanted his children and grandchildren to be judged on the contents of their character, not by the color of their skin. And a poll where anyone basically has an issue with you being okay with the skin color you are, and saying, yeah, no, you shouldn't be okay with the fact that you are this skin color, that is disturbing. That is a disturbing fact that there are people out there who think that it's not, that you should not feel it's okay to be what skin color you are. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what does your skin color have to do with anything? It is just your ethnicity on which you were born. Heck, I still get, laughed at because technically I'm Puerto Rican. Where do you think the Rodriguez name came from? I don't look very Puerto Rican, but at the end of the day, who cares? I think I'd rather be known as Kevin or iCritic or Aptrepreneur if you're watching this on the Aptrepreneur channel. I would like you to judge me on my videos, my commentary, my articles, whether or not I'm a good human being or not. I don't want you to base what you think of me based on my skin color, because it's pointless. Like, there's no way to do that. So in that respect, I can understand why a poll like that would make him upset. Here's the problem. He totally did not respond the way you should. Like, I saw one of the Oscar nominated shorts that has been nominated for an Academy Award this year is called Stranger at the Gate. And by the way, you can stream this on YouTube. Just look up Stranger at the Gate. I believe it's on the New Yorker. You can actually watch this documentary short. And this documentary short, I'm not saying it has the potential to change the world, but it is very poignant for today's climate, where we get mad at other people's feelings about us, or feeling about other people, or what they're going to do, and how we respond can really make the world of difference. Because Stranger at the Gate is about a man who was in the army. I believe he fought in Afghanistan or Iraq. He shot and killed Muslims. And so he was trained while he was over there to hate Muslims. And he found out about a mosque that was in his town where Muslims would go to pray. And this man decides that he is going to scope out the place. He is going to make an explosive weapon, and he is going to take out as many of these people as he can. He's hoping for at least 200 people that he will take out. But he needs to scope the place to find out a better place on where he can put it. Now, here's the thing. When he shows up, everybody at the mosque senses that something is not right. This guy does not have an air of friendliness to him. He is acting suspicious. They know there is something that is not right about this guy. But here's the thing. They welcome him with open arms anyway. They call him brother. They say, you are my guest. You are family while you are here. You are loved. Eventually, and this guy is so taken aback by how he's being treated. Like, why are they being so nice to me? Why are they treating me like family? Why are they doing this? And he ultimately decides, well, first of all, that he was wrong in his thinking. And he disposes of the explosive device. And he tells the people there that he has started to befriend what he had planned to do. Now, of course, they were shocked. Like, what were you thinking? You were really going to do this? Like, it was... And one of the Muslim ladies, she's asked about this. Like, what was your reaction to finding out that he wanted to harm you? He wanted to harm your husband. He wanted to harm all you, and you didn't do anything to him. And she said that for people like this, you need to love them even more, because they don't know any better, and you have to show them why their thinking is wrong. And this is where Scott Adams, and really a lot of people, it doesn't really matter what your skin color is. A lot of people fail in this regard. But since we're talking about Scott Adams today, he failed miserably at this. He read a poll, and it said that this amount of people felt this about white people. And you know what? He could respond by saying, you know what? This poll is disturbing. It upsets me. It angers me that a lot of people feel this way. I wish they wouldn't. I have nothing but love for you. I don't think there should be any hate. I hope that we can have conversations where we can talk about why you feel this way, and maybe we can find out there's nothing to hate. Maybe he can do this. Maybe we can do this. He could have responded in love, but no, he didn't. Let's look at how he responded one more time, because this says a lot about him. Based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Get the F away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. There's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. Is that racist? Undeniably, it's racist. It's basically saying in this sentence, black people are not to be trusted. They're not to be loved. You can't be friends with them. There's no relationships to be had with these people. Get away. Just get as far away from them as possible. Of course, it's racist. And then the irony is, he's responding to a poll where people said they weren't sure if it was okay to be white. You know what? Yeah, that's a little racist too. But you're going to respond to racism with racism? That's really your solution? One of the things that he's been saying about this on Twitter is that he's voicing these opinions because he wants people to come together. Or he is tired of, as a white person, being villainized and stuff like that. And it's like, here's the thing. Yeah, I do think white people are getting villainized a little bit this day and age. You go to TikTok, there are people who, like, they won't even hesitate. They'll say, hey, yeah, I am proud to say I am racist against white people. And you know what? If you are truly of a kind and loving soul, you will say, that's fine. Well, okay, but I love you. I think I'm not racist towards you. I think we could be friends if we were given half a chance. That's what the civil rights leaders, not every single one of them, but that's what a lot of them ultimately came to the agreement. Like, you know what? This is the way things work, and we have to be nice. We have to love them, and we have to show that we're worthy of being loved. I mean, you're not going to convince the other side that they are wrong by being just as wrong as they are. So look, here's the thing. In all fairness, to give Scott Adams his day in court, he had a right to be upset about that poll. He had a right to be concerned about that poll. I am concerned about that poll. But his response was not okay. And not only was it not okay, someone asked me, like, if I was upset. Like, was I mad at Scott Adams for saying this? And the thing is, I'm not really upset at him. I take no pleasure in him getting his career tarnished. I still like Dilbert, so I don't want Dilbert to be canceled. I understand why the newspapers did this, and we'll talk about why the newspapers did this in a minute. I most of all feel sad for Scott Adams that this is what he decided to respond with. I feel sad because, I wrote on Twitter, and I didn't pull it up, but, before I even really knew the whole context of it, I just knew the get the hell away from black people thing when I first heard that. I tweeted out, no, I don't think I will. I have black friends, and I love those friends, and they love me. And I said something along the lines of, I feel sorry that he feels this way because he is missing out on interaction with some truly wonderful people. And I also pointed out, like, church. Like, I don't know what it is, but black people do church awesome. Like, you go to a black church with the preacher and the choir, and it is, those are the kind of environments where an atheist can go in there and have a spiritual experience. You know, I feel sad that Scott Adams does not get to spend time with these people, and he doesn't realize what he's missing out on. You know, there are good Black people out there. There are good Asians out there. There are good Latinos. There are good white people. Skin color doesn't matter. There are beautiful people all around us. And the fact that Adams feels that he is going to get, that his encouragement is to get away from someone because of their skin color, and he might completely be missing out on knowing some potentially very lovely people. That makes me sad. Now, I know that not every Black person is a lovely person, much like every white person is not a lovely person. There are terrible people out there, but they're terrible people because they're terrible people, not because of their skin color. Let's read a little bit more on what was said. So he did go on, and again, this is where, again, I think he was legitimately mad at something that was worthy at being upset about, but he's reacting in the wrong way. He continues like, unfortunately, there is a high correlation between the density, and this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. Here, I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that when he lived in a mostly Black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. Even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. I think it's fair to say that some predominantly Black neighborhoods might not always be the safest, but here's the thing. I also live near an area where the vast majority of homeless people are white, and I wouldn't trust a kid to go over there either. I think, and when I look at this, I don't think, and even when I listen to the video clip, which we're not going to show here, I don't think Scott Adams brought this up because he was concerned. It really seems like he's bringing it up as like a feather in his argument. Like, yeah, see, they're not even safe in their own neighborhoods. So, you know, they can't be trusted. It just was ugly. Now, this part right here is probably where the anger is coming from. Adams says that he spent his entire life trying to be helpful to Black America, but his efforts have only resulted in him being labeled a racist. As he says, it makes no sense to help Black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. So here's one of the things. This is one of the problems that I have with like the whole concept of being an ally, if you will. Like, oh, you're going to help this people, like you're going to help this group of people. You're going to help this demographic. You're going to come in and save the day. You know what? Sometimes people don't ask for help. They don't necessarily want that help. But again, you're approaching this not from the perspective of someone who wants to love people. You are approaching this from a perspective that these are people that I have tried to help. They are not grateful for that. And as a result, I'm not going to try anymore. Well, you know, maybe you don't need to help anyone, Scott. Maybe you just need to get to know them and maybe become friends. Maybe that's what you need to do. Like, you know, there's a reason the white savior complex is like a trope. And Black people get offended by it. Like, you know, this is, you know, like someone who's lighter skinned saying like, oh, well, I'm in a position of privilege, therefore I can help you and I will do what I can to help you. And it's like, you know, if you're a Black person, it's like, well, I didn't ask for your help. What, you think I can't make it on my own? Like, how offensive is that? So, you know what? Scott's whole position. Look, if he was trying to help, like he was genuinely trying to help, and it wasn't reciprocated the way he wanted it to, I could see where he would be hurt in that regard. But the thing is, some people don't want to be helped. Doesn't matter who they are. They just don't want to be helped for whatever reason. And you can't take that personally, much less a whole group of people, because a few people you tried to help didn't. It's just really, it's really disturbing that this is his thinking. One of the final updates he did. I'm really sick of seeing video after video of Black Americans beating up non-Black citizens. I realize this is anecdotal and doesn't give you a full picture of what's happening, but every damn day I look on social media and there is some Black person beating the crap out of some white person, and I'm kind of over it. I'm over it. I quit. That's interesting that you say that, Scott, because, there's quite a few videos every day showing up of white people beating up Black people. And unfortunately, a lot of those videos involve cops. And look, I am not a defund the police guy. I am not. I think that that's going to make the situation so much worse if you do that. But do I not understand a little why some people have that sense? Absolutely. Because you see a lot of videos and there's cops, going way overboard when they, well, not only is it statistically true that they pull over more Black people during the day, not at night, because at night you can't really see who's driving, so that's an interesting statistic. But how many videos do we see every day of cops just beating up Black people, like way above what the crime even called for? There's a reason people got upset with George Floyd, because it's like the guy was just a little high or something, and they step on his neck and they kill him. I mean, and they did it with impunity. The guy was asking to breathe. So, I'm sure Black people don't like seeing those videos either. So here's the thing. If anything, you should be understanding to them. Like, you don't like seeing videos of Black people beating up white people? Well, they don't like seeing videos of white people beating up Black people. Maybe we can come together and agree, like, yeah, why is anyone beating anyone up? Like, why are we beating each other up? It doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? It's just, so again, he's showing his true colors. Like, the way, I am not saying he has no legitimate complaints, but how he is responding is the problem. He is literally responding to hate with hate. And whether that means he's got internal racism that's finally showing or not, I do not want to claim. But his words are undoubtedly racist, and they are not good words. Now then, here's the thing. Over the weekends, Adam posted an update video in which he admits his comments were racist. He compared his claims to reparations and affirmative action, which he also claims are racist, and said simply the fact that it's completely racist doesn't automatically make it. Oh my gosh. Oh, I didn't even know about this comment. Scott. Oh my gosh. Oh my. So he admits it, but then he says, yes, Scott, being racist is bad. It is absolutely bad. Like, it doesn't solve any problems. It just makes things more hateful. That's all it does. Now, how did Adams take the Rasmussen data out of context? The phrase of "it's okay to be white" means far more than the sum of its parts. According to the Anti-Defamation League, it first became popular in 2017 when used by trolls on 4chan before being quickly adopted by white supremacists. It's entirely possible, if not probable, that many respondents objected to what the phrase now represents rather than its literal meaning. And that's kind of like the how when the phrase Black Lives Matter showed up, that one of the response counter slogans was All Lives Matter. And of course, I have to take like the center road for everything. And it's like, look, all lives do matter. But all lives matter because Black lives matter. I don't know why they were in conflict with each other. I just don't. So, but, when you say all lives matter, for some, you are taking a stand in a certain direction. So, maybe the way this is quoted, that's why people respond that way. That's the thing. You also have to take that into account. Now, Cartoon Brew asks, does Adams have a history of saying these kinds of things? Well, actually, yes, he does. In June 2020, Adams blamed his skin color for the cancellation of the Dilbert animated TV series. According to him, the network wanted to, quote, focus on an African-American audience. It's worth noting that at the time of the show's cancellation, it was the 152nd lowest rated program on network television from a field of 153 shows. So it wasn't doing very well. And, it wasn't doing well because it was on Saturday, by the way, because I love that Dilbert cartoon. And I, by the way, I'm glad I had that cartoon on DVD because I'm pretty sure Tubi or whoever has that show right now, they're pulling the streaming as a result of all this. So you see, here's this tweet. I lost my TV show for being white when UPenn decided it would focus on an African-American audience. That was the third job I lost for being white. The other two in corporate America, they told me to. What? What's the fallout since the view was posted? Well, he's been dropped by Syndicate, Andrews McNeil Universal. They wrote a letter. And by the way, I want to read this because I actually think this was a very good response to all this. Andrews McNeil Universal is severing our relationship with Dilbert creator Scott Adams. The process of this termination will extend to all areas of our business with Adams and the Dilbert comic strip. As a media and communications company, AMU values free speech. We are proud to promote and share many different voices and perspectives, but we will never support any commentary rooted in discrimination or hate. Recent comments by Scott Adams regarding race and race relations do not align with our core values as a company. Our creator-first approach is foundational to AMU, and we deeply value our relationships with our creators. However, in the case with Adams, our vision and principles are not compatible. And here's the thing. This comic strip syndicate, I mean, I know some people are going to say, well, he just said something they didn't like and they canceled it. No, here's the thing. Dilbert has been making jokes about woke people for a while now, like for several years. He's even started to wade into the pronoun debate, which, even just hinting that the whole pronoun thing is stupid will get most people canceled. He got to do it for many, many strips. Heck, he even got to introduce a comic. He did a comic strip where he introduced his first black character in the comic strip ever for the sole purpose of making fun of identity politics, because the pointy-haired boss shows this black guy and he's like, we need to be more diverse, so we've hired this guy, and I think his name was Dave, I don't know, and Dave said, well, I identify as white, and the pointy-haired boss says, like, you're ruining this for everyone, Dave. And that was funny and offensive at the same time. I mean it was funny because, the joke being that people can call themselves whatever they want, and so diversity might ultimately be doomed if you can't, unless you do this rigorous, background check or whatever, and you don't get all your ducks in a row. But it's also kind of offensive because, again, it's he picked of all people a black guy to want to identify as white. Like, really? This is what he wanted to do. This was his, I don't know. That could not look worse at the moment if he tried. But here's the thing. That comic strip was months ago. This syndicate was very good at letting him put his personal opinions in the comic. But here's the thing. Now he said some really terrible stuff. Some truly racist, terrible stuff. And there's really not a lot defending it. Even if you understand why he said this, he should not have said this. He should not have put it out there. And if he's thinking it, which he clearly was, he should have been talking to someone, because that is not a healthy way to be thinking anyway. And so there is a very real concern that some of those viewpoints would start showing up in the comic strip. And they had no choice. It's like, look, these are our values. You do not cross this line. We will not stand for this type of stuff. He crossed that line and didn't apologize for it. In fact, by the way, he says, yeah, it was racist, but it was But it's not completely bad that I'm racist. It's like, no, if that's the guy's attitude and you've made it clear that racism is not okay by any stretch of the imagination, then no, this is where the line gets drawn. This is where the line gets drawn. You got to get rid of him now. And that's what they did. So, numerous publications that were still running the Dilbert comic strip were quick to denounce Adams Comics as racist, discriminatory, and dangerous, with many saying they will no longer publish the strip. And these are the places that have decided to drop the strip. So here's the thing. I totally agree with the syndicates and the newspapers here. He blew it. He blew it. He showed some true colors. He did not respond the way he should have at all. And they canceled him for it. And he completely did this to himself. This was not a Hogwarts legacy situation where people are making some overarching claim that if you buy this game, you are a transphobe or an anti-Semite, which is absolutely not true. This is not a situation where, you don't like some of the comedian's jokes, and so therefore you try to get his show pulled. This is, this was legitimately something troubling that happened. And again, first of all, just looking at a moral point of view, this was not good. Like, Scott Adams, for whatever reason, is truly hurting, and he is mistaken about certain things. And I am saddened that he has cut out some truly wonderful people with his views. Like, he hurts himself more than anyone else by having these views. But then from the business perspective, again, his controversial opinions, whether you think they're controversial or not, some of his jokes, I will admit to not thinking are that controversial or shouldn't be, but they did wind up in the comic. And there was a real fear that if they didn't cancel it and he got upset with how people responded to these comments, and people did get upset, and they rightfully got upset, that he would use this in his comics himself. And, they say, look, our standards are no racism. No racism. And for the record, some newspapers didn't carry the Boondocks because the comic could be perceived as racist to whites. So that is just a standard some newspapers have. Even though I personally love the Boondocks and thought Aaron McGruder was a really good cartoonist, I wish it was still in the newspapers. But then, of course, what is going to replace Dilbert? Well, we don't really know. But some guy who writes this blog called YourComicBookGuy.com. His name's Kevin T. Oh, that's me. This is one of my blogs. Yay. I had a suggestion for those people for what could be replaced. Because one of the reasons Dilbert is successful is because it catered to a very specific audience, the everyday workers who have to work in a cubicle and have to deal with corporate America. I personally think PvP would make for a great replacement for Dilbert. It's about gamers who ran a magazine, although since then it has not been a magazine. It's been in online web publications. They have office jobs. They're relatable. They have pop culture geekiness to them. Like, I think PvP would be a great comic to replace Dilbert with. Now, I wrote this article, and the creator Scott Kurtz basically read it and said that he didn't think it would happen, but he appreciated the thought. And I don't know why that would be. Maybe it's because the newspapers only accept syndicate comic strips. Maybe they wouldn't accept Kurtz's comic strip because it's not part of a syndicate. I know at one point he tried to get in the newspapers by giving away his comic strip for free. Not sure if that's still on the table or not, but it was an attempt made. So, but I think that PvP would be a logical replacement for Dilbert. It's funny. The creator has thousands of comics that can be edited and printed in the paper. And, it caters to that niche market that Dilbert did. And so I think that would be a great replacement. Now, am I going to am I going to miss Dilbert? Yes. Because I still like the Dilbert comic strip. Despite everything that's happened, I still like Dilbert. It is just a really funny comic strip for me, and I like it quite a bit. But I totally understand why the newspapers did what they did. This wasn't even like a Roseanne Barr situation where there was like one joke that was potentially taken out of context, and I think that could have been talked through. This was really bad, really obvious, and when you looked at the receipts, there was precedent for him talking and acting this way, to where the newspapers had no choice. They had to get rid of him. But I'll miss the comic. I will. I still, in fact, I will even say one of the first things I did was I went on Barnes & Noble, and whatever Dilbert books were still there, which were 6, I believe, I bought them because, they're not going to print them anymore. And I want to have some of those Dilbert comic strips. So, I know money is going to this guy, but I wanted to make sure that I had some more book collections before I no longer have the chance to. And again, he totally deserves it this time. I don't believe that he will ever come back from this. I think this was basically a done deal, and not upset about it. By the way, thank you, Joshua, for your point. Definitely make a lot of good points about this article, and it's just horrible. And overall, people deserve to be treated with love and care and respect. And again, I want to reiterate, I loved what that Muslim woman said in that documentary short that I quoted earlier, when she found out that the guy that she welcomed into her mosque was planning to harm her and pretty much everyone there. It would have been a completely normal and human reaction to say, you wanted to do what to me? And no, you're never coming back here. Like, you crossed the line. And the thing she said was, look, the people who hate like this, they're the ones you need to love the most because they don't know any better. And so that's why I'm not angry at Scott. I feel sad for him because he hurts himself more than anyone else, not just financially, but he hurts himself in the people he knows and the relationships he has. So I've got a mystery movie at 7, but let's see if there's any Dilbert related comics. Like James Bond, they are going to have sensitive people go over the script before it's released. No, I mean, the James Bond book things is definitely troubling. I do not agree with that, but the difference between James Bond is that was written 80 years ago or 70 or something like that. You shouldn't touch it because it's old. But if it's a current thing and they're writing certain things, then yeah, you can choose not to publish that if you want. Let's see here. I am doing fine today. I never watched the Dilbert cartoon, so I don't really have anything to say about that. For a while you could get the whole series on DVD for $5. I have no idea if that's a thing anymore because, value of that thing just went up probably. But, and no, God does not determine his judgment based on the color of your skin. He doesn't. He does it on the character. So, I see you posting a lot of things. I like it, but I can't answer all these because it's, let's see here. All right, let's see here. I like this. Let everyone be quick to hear, be careful, thoughtful listener, slow to speak, a speaker of carefully chosen words, and slow to anger, patient, reflective, forgiving. James 1:9. That is advice that Scott Adams really should have heeded. RLI says, that's what doomed him. I'm black. Oh, I didn't know that. But, see, you like my content. I like your comments. You provide good things. Skin color doesn't matter. I'm black, and I actually agree with him as far as hating someone because of the color of skin. But Scott could have disagreed without him going racist. Yeah, exactly. That's that's the thing. It was a you know what it was kind of like? This was kind of like somebody went up and stabbed him with a fork, and he pulled out a gun and shoots him in the shoulder. It's like, what? Like, you just escalate this. You just showed yourself to be worse. So yeah. Um, let's see here. I personally would say that these opinions of mine about this are based on a Christian and biblical perspective. Um, hopefully, even if you're not biblical and you're just a decent human being, they also are views that make sense. But yes, they are coming from that. Yep. So Debbie says the last 3 years have brought unprecedented frustration over forced isolation, fear, and uncertainty. Anger is at a boiling point. Observation, not an excuse for reprehensible behavior. And yeah, I do think that the lockdowns, necessary as they may have been, did make a lot of people angry and upset. Admittingly, I did joke like, because I'm an introvert, I like being home alone and everything like that. But after a month, it was like, boy, no wonder house arrest is still a punishment. Equity is a problem. Have to check the box. No merits. I agree with that. I do. But again, you don't respond the way you did. So anyway, that's pretty much where we are going to end this discussion. And boy, what a discussion it was. So I am curious what you all think. For those of you who are watching this after the fact, did Dilbert deserve to get canceled? As much as I love the comic, I'm going to have to say, yeah, it was probably the right call to make. Hate doing it. I'll enjoy the show. I'll enjoy the books. There might even be a day where I miss it enough that I pay for his Substack and I'll get the content directly from the creator itself. I mean, I don't fall into that whole thing where it's like, well, if someone has these views, I'm sure there's a lot of products I buy from people that are terrible people. He just made it very obvious, but yeah, he kind of deserved what he got in this case, much as I will miss Dilbert. So anyway, I'd like to know what you think about this. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.